Okay, well, leading off our what's in bloom for the month of July, we have Hesperaloe, parviflora, Sandia Glow. So Mountain States Wholesale Nursery in Arizona has been doing a lot of breeding work with Hesperaloe and getting various cultivars, and one of them is Sandia Glow, which has a beautiful red flower, and Sandia means watermelon in Spanish. It glows like a watermelon, and so we have that planted here, and then a second plant over here, and they are really coming on nice with that red color, not as pink and shorter than the regular Hesperaloe parviflora. Brachychiton is a genus of Australian trees, formerly in the Sterculiaceae and now put into the Malvaceae as far as their family placement goes. But they are quite variable, and some of them have beautiful flowers, including this one here. We received this as Brachychiton discolor, and it looks like it with its bubblegum pink flowers, but actually it turns out it's a hybrid between that species and acerifolius. Both of these have leaves that look kind of like a maple leaf, a palmate lobed leaf, and they tend to lose their leaves before they flower. So this year, when it just dumped leaves like crazy, we realized we were in for a good flower display, and it's just beginning now. The flowers have gold fuzz on the outside of them and bubblegum pink on the inside, and there really are a great many of them coming on the tree right now. When we think of an agave, we usually think of one with big leaves, like this Agave chiapensis here, but there are some agaves that have much narrower, more needle-like leaves, and that's the case with this one, Agave striata. It's a common agave from northeastern Mexico and is somewhat variable in its flower color, but oftentimes the flowers are quite green, as you see with this specimen here. It develops into a clump over time with a lot of heads, and once you get a lot of heads, you usually have enough heads that there'll be at least one of them that'll flower every year. So it is a regular feature of the garden to have this in flower in the summertime. Eriogonum is a genus in the Polygonaceae, and this is a group that's very well represented in California. We have more species than anywhere here. And on the large side is this one, Eriogonum giganteum, which, as you can see, is taller than me. Most Eriogonums are considerably shorter than that. Many flowers, tiny flowers that are very attractive to bees, and it just covers itself in flowers at this time of the year. Salvia is a big group, including gardener's sage, but many ornamental plants, and some of them are quite drought tolerant. This is a California native called Salvia pachyphylla. Pachyphylla means thick leaf, and the leaf, well, it's a little bit thick, but really not very much compared to many of the other plants in the Ruth Bancroft Garden. But what's wonderful about it is the contrast between the blue-purple of the flowers themselves and the purplish reddish color of the bracts at the base. And so that two-tone purplish and blue color is a feature of this plant. It has a long blooming period in the summertime, a very attractive drought-tolerant plant. Agaves come from all different habitats, from the seashore to the high mountains, and one of the mountain dwellers is this one here, Agave parrasana. It comes from the state of Coahuila in northern Mexico and grows up high in the mountains, so it's very cold tolerant, and it has an unusual habit. Most agaves bloom quite rapidly from when the stalk starts to come out until the flowers open, but this one has a slow motion progress. So it starts out in the fall of one year and goes partway up, then stops and waits out the winter and resumes the following spring and actually comes into flower. So this one started its stalk in fall of 2019, and only now is it in flower. Beautiful red buds and yellow open flowers. Agave parrasana. There are a lot of Eriogonum species with flowers that are white or pink, but this one is a lot redder than the others. Eriogonum grande variety rubescens. Makes a compact clump of felted leaves and then these beautiful sort of slightly purplish red flowers in great numbers in the summertime. Among the many species of aloe are just a few that have furry flowers, and these always come from somewhere near the Red Sea, either in Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Somalia to the south side of the Red Sea, or the Arabian Peninsula to the north side of the Red Sea. And this is one of the Arabian Peninsula ones. It comes from Yemen. And it's extraordinary for just how long those hairs are on the flower. They really catch the light wonderfully. This plant's not quite open yet, but it's well on the way. They could be either red or yellow flower color, and this is a yellow one. Aloe lavranosii. Aloes are well known for their blaze of color in the wintertime, many of them blooming in the wintertime when other things aren't in flower, but there are summer flowering aloes as well. This one here is a cross between Aloe pearsoni and Aloe distans, two aloes from the west coast of South Africa that both bloom in the summertime. And because pearsoni is well known for how colorful the leaves get, but it's a difficult plant to grow, I crossed it with Aloe distans, much easier to grow, to get this plant. And happily, the leaves do color up nicely, and the flowers are just glorious at this time of the year in late June and July. A cultivar of this was named Helskloof bells and distributed by the Huntington, and this is actually not that exact clone. Actually, there's more than one clone here. You can see this one's more orangey and that one's more reddish. Two siblings of the same seed batch that produced Helskloof bells. Okay, this plant here is Gasteria huttoniae. That might be an unfamiliar name to most people. It's oftentimes classified as an eastern form of Gasteria excelsa, but excelsa has long sword-like leaves and is a much bigger plant, whereas huttoniae is more compact, more triangular leaves, and altogether a smaller thing. Like Gasteria excelsa, it has a many-branched inflorescence. You can see how many flower branches there are on this, and some are blooming, so it's just come into flower in the last couple of weeks. And it is solitary, as you can see, but in time it might make a few offsets. Gasteria huttoniae from South Africa. Puya is a South American genus in the bromeliad family, and mostly they occur along the Andes, from Argentina and Chile in the south up to Colombia in the north. This is one of the Chilean species, Puya alpestris, and notable for its incredible flower color, that amazing blue-green color with a little bit of orange from the pollen to contrast with the blue-green of the petals. And if you'll notice, this plant has little spurs that come out beyond the flowers. And the reason it has those is those serve as a bird perch. So many other Puyas have tubular flowers that are pollinated by a hummingbird. A hummingbird doesn't need a perch, but this is pollinated by perching birds, and so this provides a wonderful place for them to stop and feed on the nectar from the flowers, and then move on to the next plant and hopefully pollinate it in the process. This red-flowered plant is Russelia equisetiformis, which is notable for its tubular red flowers. We have it in several places around the pool here, and the green of the leaves and the red of the flowers really makes a nice pop against the dark of the water behind. Russelia is native to Mexico and Guatemala, but it's widely planted as a garden ornamental because of its beautiful habit. It kind of arches out and cascades over like a weeping willow, and plus it's very free flowering, so a wonderful plant for the garden. We always know that summer's here when our Erythrina comes into bloom. This is Erythrina bidwilli. It's actually a hybrid, and we cut it completely down to the ground in the wintertime, so there's absolutely nothing there. And then every spring the new shoots come out, and then all summer long we have this beautiful display of red flowers. It's just amazing to me how many flowers this plant puts out in a year. It just keeps right on going until the fall. This tree above me is the desert willow, Chilopsis linearis. It grows in the desert southwest and southward into Mexico. And it's a wonderful tree. It loses its leaves in the wintertime, and the twisty branches look beautiful against the sky. And then all summer long, it has leaves and these beautiful lavender flowers. It's in the trumpet vine family, Bignoniaceae. Plants in the genus Ferocactus are known as barrel cacti, and they do have a sort of a barrel-like look, like you see here. Usually they're very spiny creatures, and this one, Ferocactus pottsii, has much shorter spines than the other Ferocactus, and so the body is very visible. What's really wonderful about it is the way it has fruits that last a long time. So here we have open flowers, and then the fruits from last year's flowering all around. So the yellow from the fruits, they look sort of like little pineapples, last all the way until the next year's flowers. So there's always something yellow going on at the top of the plant. A very nice, stout barrel cactus from northwestern Mexico. This particular plant is actually quite famous. When John Pilbeam, a British author of books on succulent plants, did a book on Ferocactus some years ago, he included a picture of this plant to illustrate the species. And so people all around the world have seen this plant, and it's sort of the model for Ferocactus pottsii in a lot of minds. The first plant on this month's What's in Bloom was Hesperaloe parviflora, Sandia Glow. And that one lives up to the name Hesperaloe better, because Hesperus is the west wind, and so the meaning of Hesperaloe is western aloe. And that's because many, like Sandia Glow, have an aloe-like tubular flower. But this one here is an exception. It does have leaves that are reminiscent of the other one, but the flowers open widely and are white, and that's because they're moth pollinated. They open at night when moths are active, and white is the color that shows up at night, so the flowers, instead of being red and tubular, are wide opening and white, and hence Hesperaloe nocturna. It's a plant from northern Mexico and is wonderful for its long succulent leaves with little curling threads at the margins, and for these very tall inflorescences with white, wide opening flowers. Century plants are notable for their incredibly large flower stalks, at least on the larger species, like this one here. This is Agave raskinensis, and that's now considered to be just a form of Agave americana. But you can see that the flower stalk goes up almost as high as a telephone pole with many clusters of yellow flowers. These are not quite open yet, but will be very soon. This plant with the wonderful little clusters of red flowers that almost look like little red whisk brooms is Grevillea king's fire. So Grevillea is a genus in the Protea family from Australia, a very large genus, and in recent years there have been many new cultivars, including this one, which has done really well for us. It just blooms and blooms, and this fine textured foliage, kind of looks like pine needles, is a nice backdrop to the red flowers. Poliomynthas are plants in the mint family native to the southwestern US and Mexico. And this one here, Poliomyntha madarensis, is called the Mexican sage. Just has these beautiful tubular lavender flowers in the summertime.